Welcome to Videoguys Newsday Tuesday. Again, my name is Jeanice and I'm a marketing associate here at Videoguys. Today I'll be filling in for Gary. And today we have a very special guest. We have George from Epiphan Video. And we're going to talk about all the new things that are going on with Epiphan in 2019. So if we could bring in George. George, welcome back. I just saw you 2 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So let's get right into it. Let's talk about Epiphan. Let's talk about exactly how Live at Epiphan came about. What your goals were, why did you start it, when you started it.
Sure. Yeah, so hopefully some of your viewers have had the opportunity to catch our weekly live show that we do on Thursdays instead of your Tuesdays.
Right.
But we do it at Thursdays at 3 o'clock Eastern every week. And we started it partially because we needed to better understand our customers and the market and the technical difficulties that they might deal with when trying to produce live shows. As you know, many things can go wrong. Many things can trip you up, even if it's the same setup week after week. And we found that the best way to do that was to take ourselves out of the comfort zone, force ourselves to experiment, and just play with it and change things up to try and break things and hopefully find better ways of doing it. So we're approaching our 100th episode. We're at 90 something right now.
Wow.
So we've been doing it for a while. And actually, if those who feel so inclined, we're actually running a giveaway right now that we will announce the winner on our 100th episode at the end of February.
Okay.
And that giveaway, we're actually giving away a trip to either NAB or IBC later in the year. So people are interested, check out Epiphan's Facebook page, and you'll find some details there, as well as on our website, epiphan.com. But that's an exciting opportunity. And kind of one of the pieces we try to do with our live show as well is bring people behind the scenes, right?
Wow.
And for those of us who get to go to shows like NAB, you see things in a different way than you might as a casual viewer of live streams.
So do you go to IBC and NAB every year?
I don't always myself personally, but Epiphan does, as well as other shows, Infocom, ISE coming up in a couple of weeks in Amsterdam. So there's several big shows that we go to throughout the year to not only exhibit our own products, but talk to our excellent partners that we have globally and meet our customers face to face and look at what else is happening in the marketplace and see where our products can fit with complementary products and compare them against competitors and all those fun things that you get to do.
Very cool. So it looks like you have a great set behind you. So are there any current Epiphan products you use for your live streaming show?
Yeah, so we try to use all of our products at different stages on different shows, but the cornerstone of it when we're running our normal week-to-week show from here in this studio space is our Pearl 2. So the Pearl 2 is Epiphan's sort of flagship hardware encoder for live streaming and recording. And we use that as the main piece in our studio, bringing in all our cameras, all our audio, all our laptop and other shares, and be able to do all of our mixing, switching, streaming, and recording all on one device that way. So it definitely anchors it, but then we add other pieces.
So before we switch over, I just want to mention that the Pearl Mini was one of Videoguys' top 10 products. So let's get into the Pearl Mini really quick for those who don't know much about it.
Yeah, so the Pearl Mini is the smaller little brother to Pearl 2. Pearl 2 has been out for a couple of years now, but we found that a lot of our customers, especially within the education sector for lecture capture, even smaller scale live events and live streams, the Pearl 2 was a little overkill. I mean, it's an awesome product, but not everyone needs 6 cameras. So Pearl Mini really came out of people who need something a little more portable, a little smaller, super easy to use, but still packs all of those professional features for audio, mixing, switching, and 2 to 3 inputs maximum to really do it in a small compact box. And that's where kind of the idea of Mini came from. And since we started selling it last June, I mean, sales have been ramping so quickly that it's expected to really take off through 2019.
So my question for you is, who seems to be your biggest consumer as far as the Pearl Mini goes?
That's a tough one because originally the design intention was very much focused on, like I say, lecture capture. That
Right.
was a big inspiration for the design. But similar to its bigger brother in the Pearl 2, we've found a very surprising mix of different users.
Okay.
Uh, I've had guys in the UK that are using it for user experience labs and study groups, which I didn't expect. Normally, we expect Pearl 2 for that.
Right.
Um, Bringing it on the road for just live events. We had a customer of ours who uses our rack mount Pearl 2s in a lot of their stuff, but they had a smaller group of their AV team
Sure.
that when we announced the Pearl Mini, they hadn't even seen a prototype and they pre-ordered, you know, 20 or so of them, knowing that a smaller version of their existing Pearls was just going to be
Right.
awesome. And so they do conference recording and streaming. And that's, yeah, it's really well suited for that sort of market.
When you say user experience, what exactly do you mean by that?
User experience labs, so study groups. So if
Okay.
you think of the big tech companies, your Googles, your Microsofts,
Oh,
Facebook,
okay.
and so on, all of these companies do user experience studies when they go to
Right.
release a new product. As more and more of this stuff is going into mobile devices, bringing not only a capture of that screen, but also person's hands, their
Okay.
eyes, whatever they're
Right.
doing, capturing and recording all of that, and sometimes live streaming it to the study group that might be watching this interaction.
Sure.
They might be on the other side of the world, right? As things reach more and more global, and so being able to use something like Pearl to bring in multiple cameras as well as maybe a specific device, computer, tablet, mix that together with cameras and share that with remote participants or just have a recording of it is really, really powerful. And so there definitely are a
Right.
lot of companies doing this,
Okay.
and proud to say that a bunch of them are Epiphan customers.
Very nice. So let's talk about a little bit about multi-streaming. We always watch your show, and my favorite show is definitely the one about multi-streaming because all customers always ask about that. So let's talk about a little bit about, let's say, epic fails that go on since you're always running live. What's one of your favorite shows that you remember an epic fail happened?
Well, I mean, there's always at least one thing that goes
Of
wrong.
course, we're live.
Whether it's you just have a bad network connection. And in our early shows, we used to run into that sometimes. And we made our IT team here set up a dedicated VLAN with dedicated bandwidth just for our studio so that if someone else is trying to make a big download on the network here, it doesn't interfere with our studio space. We have protected bandwidth. So that was a lesson learned from oops. But, sometimes it's, I guess, just this last fall, my colleague George, other George,
Sure.
and myself, we were in Sweden and we decided to do our live show on the road from our hotel room.
Okay.
And we were using a laptop with OBS instead of using our own hardware. And a
George, I hate to
misconfiguration of
interrupt you really
OBS.
quick, but can you just explain to our listeners who don't know what OBS is?
Sure,
Give a
it's
little
open
background.
broadcast.
Okay.
So it's a piece of free open source software, very similar to Wirecast or XSplit or vMix.
Got it.
So it's free open source live streaming and recording software. And it can be incredibly powerful. Obviously, its big advantage is that it's free, so that's attractive.
That's always good.
But it works really well with our capture cards like our AVIO, which is actually what I'm using for my camera into Skype to join you today. But
Excellent.
a misconfiguration of OBS meant we had no audio for the first 5 minutes of our show. And it took a little
Oh,
while of people waving us down to say it's nothing. But, at that point, it was 9 o'clock at night in Sweden, and we had been walking
oh
around
boy.
Stockholm all day. We were exhausted. But we had a lot of fun on that show at the same time. As much as there was a mistake made, we had a blast during the day filming short little clips throughout Stockholm that we put together as a package.
Okay.
So it was also a lot of fun and I think a big success. So yeah, we try to avoid them. I guess our biggest oops would also be network and bandwidth. And
Okay.
that's when we attempted to do a live stream from a car. We wanted to drive around downtown Ottawa and live stream the show from a car. We
Sure.
built this super fancy rig to run a Pearl 2 off the car power and all these things. And then our cellular LTE connection totally let us down and would cut out constantly. So lesson learned there, that what we currently had in our
Okay.
possession at the time for our LTE connection was not stable enough for a moving live stream. We've since changed equipment and done some other experiments and had more success in doing that.
So when you go to a place like IBC or NAB or live streaming from your car, so what's the thought process as far as what you're going to bring with you to do a live stream?
I mean, it obviously depends on how much stuff you can bring. When we
Okay.
go to trade shows, of
Right.
course, we already have a booth full of our gear.
Sure.
So it's very easy to just take a Pearl Mini off of the shelf out of the booth and
Right.
take it somewhere, plug it in, and do a live stream using that.
Okay.
But if it's something like that, stream we did from Sweden,
Right.
all I had was my laptop and my carry-on luggage. So all
Okay.
I could fit was an AVIO in my bag. But that was enough. Between that and a Sony a6300 camera, which again is a very small camera, we were able to do a very visually appealing show despite the audio glitch.
Very nice. So another product I want to bring up is your Webcaster X2. Can you tell us
Yeah.
a little bit about that?
Sure. So the Webcaster, I guess it represents our entry level into the hardware encoder.
Right.
And for many people, moving from things like OBS, Wirecast on a laptop into a hardware encoder,
Sure.
sometimes that's a big jump if you compare, let's say, a Pearl 2 to a laptop. But what a hardware encoder can really do is it can help simplify the setup, minimize the amount of gear you're using, and oftentimes can be more cost effective when you actually break it down.
Okay.
So the Webcaster X2 represents an awesome entry-level hardware encoder. You can bring in your HDMI feed from a camera or a switcher or basically anything with an HDMI output, live stream to Facebook or YouTube or Twitch, and we've added a number of other platforms as well, with hopefully more to come. And the setup is so simple, you don't have to understand the complicated software like Wirecast or OBS or vMix, which
Okay.
for people who are new to that stuff can be pretty intimidating. And so the Webcaster really tries to bring it down to the basics. People might be used to live streaming from their cell phone, and the simplicity of using an app on your phone for Facebook, for example,
Sure.
is really, really easy. But the camera on a cell phone isn't always the best visual experience, whether it's a shaky cam or whether it's just the physical space for zoom or lighting isn't great. So Webcaster kind of gives the simplicity of using your phone from an app perspective, but the quality of your real camera.
Sure.
So it's a great middle ground to step up from your phone into
Okay.
a hardware encoder.
Got
And
it.
hopefully someday you find the need to say, well, now I need 3 cameras and I'll buy a Pearl.
So who's your biggest consumer for the Webcaster X2?
So believe it or not, our largest overall, if we look at it globally, our largest customer base is actually churches.
Very nice. Okay.
And there's good reasons for that. We didn't expect it, but it's good reasons. Partially, it's so easy to use that volunteers can run it. And that's important within the church and house of worship market, where you're often not dealing with professional AV people. You're dealing with volunteers who might change week to week.
Okay.
But also, it's a low cost. So it's going to fit anyone's budget. You don't have to have $1 million AV setup if you're using something like a Webcaster. You can do it very inexpensive. And so the smaller country churches, the lower budget churches that are just starting streaming to see if it's even worthwhile,
Right.
the Webcaster is a great tool that doesn't cost a lot, that can get it up and running fast and easy. And then maybe they'll grow. Again, like I said, maybe
Sure.
they'll grow into something like a Pearl
Right.
if their audience builds. And that's really the best part.
So nobody with any experience can just pretty much put this together and live stream if they wanted to.
Right. That's the beauty of it, is
Okay.
it leverages the APIs from Facebook and YouTube.
Sure.
So it gives you a simple pairing code. You use that pairing code to link it to your account.
Okay.
You push start, and that's pretty much it. I mean,
Wow.
it's really, really simple.
So it's definitely the ease of use that people purchase this one over, let's say, the Pearl Mini.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the
Okay.
Pearls are definitely much more powerful devices,
Okay.
But they're a little more complicated to set
Sure.
up. That's not to say they're difficult. They're all still very easy to use.
Right.
But it is a little extra. But I think also the physical size of the Webcaster is important. I visited some of our customers' churches who use the Webcaster, and in their audio booth, where they're leveraging now video into an existing audio booth,
Right.
there just isn't the space. They're dealing with a tiny little table. They can't set up a big complicated video system on top of their already complicated audio. Webcaster's so small, you can tuck it in anywhere. Uh, we have a lot of customers that use Webcaster completely mobile. They put it in a backpack with a battery and just walk around with it.
Sure.
So its physical size is also a
Okay.
big advantage.
Very nice. So let's go back and talk about a little bit of your live streaming show. Do you have anything
Sure.
new planned for this year? Do you plan it way far in advance? What can you tell us a little bit about 2019 and your live streaming show?
Yeah, so well, I mean, you're standing in for Gary today, but as you're finding out,
Yeah,
sometimes a lot goes into planning
of
live
course.
shows,
Yeah,
more than people really think. We definitely do plan in advance.
like this guy right
Just
here.
yesterday, yeah, exactly. Just yesterday, we were doing our planning meeting, and we were looking at scheduling shows and scripting shows into May.
Wow.
So
Okay.
now that's a little bit fluid. Sometimes guests change, or maybe a subject has to change just due to availability on personnel or product. But we try to set it a decent amount in advance. It actually makes it easier. Trying to
Right.
do it last minute every time, it doesn't end up with the best content. So trying to plan it out as far forward as possible really helps.
Very cool. So is there anything else that we could be expecting from Epiphan in 2019, or do we have to wait for NAB to know about it?
Well, some of it you'll have to wait, but we definitely for the first half of 2019, we're really working on a big focus of adding new features to the Pearl family of products,
Okay.
and some of those features we're really excited about, but I can't quite talk about them yet. We did just release a big update for the Pearl family,
Okay.
which added direct integration with Kaltura, which is a content management
You do have a
system.
webinar coming up, correct?
We do. On the 22nd, we have a webinar all about Perl and Kaltura. So please, if you're interested, sign up for that. We'll share a lot more information with that. The nice part with Kaltura is that it's a content management system that's used in education, it's used in enterprise, and it's an extremely powerful platform. So being able to have direct integration with Kaltura means that you can have automated scheduling and automated uploads of recorded content
Okay.
all into that platform for easy management. So that's been an important one. And we might have a few more platforms in the works that we're planning on. And that's obviously more news to come later in the year.
Very awesome. All right, last question, I promise. Where did you get that awesome live on air sign behind you? Because we've been looking at it the whole time.
That's an awesome question that I don't know the answer to. I showed up one day and went, "Hey, where'd that come from?" And one of our office assistants, who has actually unfortunately moved on to another job now outside of Epiphan, ordered it from somewhere, and it showed up after she left, and I have no idea where she got it. So it's probably just an Amazon thing, to be honest. But yeah,
Oh, we can buy it
it's
on
kind of
Amazon. Maybe we'll get one. Sorry, we might
yeah.
copy you.
Yeah, it's a great little sign. Well, our studio space is somewhat just over to my right. There's a wall, and just the other side of that wall is basically
Right.
all the cubicles of our marketing group. And so, trying to let people know when we're live is helpful.
Actually, I have one more question. How many people do you have live streaming with you in your production team when you're doing your live shows?
Yeah, so I mean, it varies from week to week,
Okay.
but typically we have, as you've seen on some of the shows,
Sure.
one or two um, hosts. Sometimes they're semi-virtual hosts, like last week's show with our
Right.
unicorn
The
guest.
unicorn.
Secretly, that was my colleague Cameron, who is writing right now a message for me telling me that someone's going to put the Amazon link for the sign in the comments. Um, but we usually have two hosts and then someone operating as the producer, doing the start, stop, and switching on the Pearl.
Got it.
So usually it's three, sometimes four if we need a little extra, or if we maybe do a freehand camera, so we need a
Okay.
camera operator actually walking around with a camera. We usually use just a fixed camera so that we don't have to have someone manning it. But yeah, 3 to 4 is pretty typical. But when it comes to idea generation,
Sure.
we pull our entire marketing team into those discussions to gather whatever people want to throw at us and say, okay, maybe this is interesting, maybe that idea is good. We generate a lot of it from our own blog posts. Some of my colleagues out of our California office write a lot of those blog posts. So we borrow a lot of that content as well and just do it in video form. So ideas come from everywhere, but the hands-on is usually 3 to 4 people.
Very nice. I think that's actually all the questions I have for you today, George. So I want to thank you for everyone here at Videoguys for stopping in, checking in with us, and interviewing with us. And I think
Very
that's
welcome.
it. So
Yeah,
hope to
well, I
see
just
you.
wanted to thank you
Go
guys
ahead.
for talking about the Pearl Mini, and we're certainly excited about being named a top product in 2018 for
Oh, it's the
Videoguys.
best.
That was awesome, and like I say, there's much more to come from that product and the Pearl family in general in 2019, and we can't wait to share that with everyone. And we'll see your team, I guess, at NAB
And
in April.
NAB. We'll see you then. All right, thanks, George.
Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you, George, once again. So let's go over our schedule for the upcoming weeks. Oops. January 22nd, we have, I didn't mean to do that. January 22nd, we have G Technology Storage Workflows with Red cameras and Atomos monitors and recorders. January 29th, we have a special guest, Kane Peterson from New Tech will join us to talk about the newest advanced edition features. And then February 5th, we have Tess from PTZ Optics to talk to us about Stream Geeks and PTZ Optics. So that is it for our show today. Don't forget to give us a call at 1-800-323-2325. Again, I'm Jeanice, and I'll see you soon.
Videoguys is available Monday through Friday. Give us a call at 1-800-323-2325. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter to stay connected with all of our updates. And you can like us on Facebook. Keep an eye out for our live videos. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.